Yeah, so welcome again. My name is Elaine, and I'm another host of the webinar. We organized the webinar because it is not always easy to find an ideal job in the biodiversity and sustainable forestry field. And furthermore, various job types could contribute to biodiversity. So understanding these job types and opportunities has become increasingly important for youth who want to contribute to such fields. And this webinar aimed to invite youth working in sustainable forestry and biodiversity field to share their experience with people who would like to work in a similar role. So today, we're really happy that we invite Jilian and Mahtuf to talk about their job and their experience in job searching and also their opportunities and challenges they have learned. So our webinar today will consist of two presentations. After both presentations, we will have time for your questions. So now I would like to introduce our speakers today, starting with Jilian. She is a licensed forester in the Philippines who works at the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. The abbreviation is DENR, and the primary national agency handling and managing the Philippine environment and its natural resources. So she graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Forestry in the University of the Philippines, Los Banos. And she is currently taking up a Master in Environment and Natural Resources Management in the University of the Philippines Open University. And she is also an active member of the International Forestry Students Association, IFSA, where she is currently a consulting member and was previously the head of social media subcommission, as well as a two-time Asia Pacific regional representative. So now comes to our second speaker. He is Mahtuf. He is a junior consultant at the International Tropical Timber Organization at Yokohama, Japan. He is currently pursuing a double degree master's program in European forestry at the University of Freiburg, Germany, and the University of Eastern Finland with Erasmus full scholarship. And his special interest is in forest economics and bioenergy. He previously worked as a governance and trade analyst in the European Forest Institute at Joensuu, Finland. So today we will start from Jilian's presentation. Jilian, please go ahead and share your presentation with us.
Thank you, Elaine. So I'll start sharing now. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Okay, we're good.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Elaine. Hello to the participants in this webinar. It is a pleasure to be a speaker in today's webinar and to celebrate Biodiversity Month with you guys. So I'm here to speak about my personal and professional experience of how I got to the biodiversity and sustainability area in my line of job and what I am doing exactly. Okay. So again, I am Jillian from DENR, or the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, under the License, Patents, and Deeds Division. I am currently doing my Master of Environment and Natural Resource Management in the University of the Philippines, and currently I am a consulting member of IFSA. So I graduated BS Bachelor of Science in Forestry, again in the University of the Philippines, wherein I was able to do my practicum in the Makiling Center for Mountain Ecosystems. And as previously mentioned, I was an Asia Pacific regional representative and the head of social media subcommission in the International Forestry Students Association. So I'm just gonna show, these are some pictures of me in IFSA wherein I was doing my job. I was also studying and I was in IFSA juggling time, those three jobs together. And this was when I did and I work for the Makiling Center for Mountain Ecosystems, where I did my practicum. So here we do inventory of trees, soil, and insects, getting GPS locations, and identifying land use. So I think we get to stay here for about 5 days in the mountains, and then yeah, and then and then every day we go up, and this one here we went 5 days straight staying in the mountains. So now I'm gonna focus on my current career. Again, I work for DENR. So in every country, we have an agency in charge of the environment and natural resources. I am also showing you here the logo of our agency. And I have here written three divisions wherein I was previously and currently assigned. So my first assigned division was in the office of the regional executive director, and then I was transferred to surveys and mapping division. And currently, I am in licenses, patents, and deeds division. I'm gonna elaborate this further so you'll know my experience in every division. So my first assignment was in the office of the regional executive director. So my experience here is quite challenging because, I was a newbie. Like I was a fresh grad back then, and then here I am at the office of the highest decision maker in the region. So you don't get to choose an expertise here. It doesn't matter what major you were in, because every problem in the region is basically the office problem. So what I did is I did a lot of research on national laws and just studied and studied. And my advice here is don't be afraid to ask your superiors. If you don't know a thing about what you're doing, you can ask them. And usually the papers here already went through a lot of stages. It already went to the inspection team, and then to the chief, and then to the assistant director, and then finally in our office. And I was a technical assistant then, so I recheck and make sure that the paper is already good for signing. Because in one signature has a lot can happen in one signature. It can either make or break the agency. So, and then if there are cases that needs a reply or action that are referred to the director, I will create one or act on it, of course, upon his approval. So again, he is the highest holding position in the region. So every complaint that goes to him is already urgent. Then again, every problem is his problem. And usually, when the complaint already reached the director, it means the problem needs to be solved right away. For example, if there's a landslide in a certain area, we have to go there immediately and assess the situation and what the department can do. So here you have to be ready, not just give it's already given. You have to be prepared mentally. You have to know the laws already, everything about the environment and natural resources in the country, but also you also have to be physically ready because you don't know what problem is next. Like 1 minute you're typing the minutes of the meeting, then suddenly you travel far away place, and sometimes you even get to stay in that place for 3 or probably more days until the problem is solved. So your clothes should also be ready. Like I remember I have a backpack in my office. I think that's good for 5 days of field work. And I always bring rubber shoes or hiking shoes. So in case of surprise field work. So I'm ready to change from office heels to rubber shoes, hiking shoes anytime. So I have here some pictures and my phone doing job in the office of the regional executive director. So we do, of course, we are the agency for environment and natural resources. So it's common that we do clean up for the environment. Here we this was before the pandemic, right before the pandemic. We do weekly cleanups. I think this is every Friday. So this one, the office of the regional executive director was assigned this Friday of the month. And then, oh, I have here my experience when we were immediately called because there was a fire in a resettlement area. I think I just filtered this to look good, but this is a devastating event. It was caught on fire, so we had to inspect and think of a solution right away. Oh, here's a different concern. It's mining. So here, we just inspect the mining companies that are compliant with sustainable mining, and then the mining companies here are actually required to reforest some areas that some of their areas, and we also check their nursery. This one is their nursery. No, this is already a plantation, sorry. But they also have nurseries. And then we also check the reforested areas. This one is a national park. So everybody, this is a protected area, and I had to attend a protected area management meeting. So this is a regular thing, uh, a PAMB meeting. I just took a picture of the national park. Uh, So I told you there are unexpected moments, and in this one we have to go to the area right away. Oh, there's also a GPS location, so we have to go to the area right away because there were already these are houses being built in a national park, and that is not allowed. So we were surprised and we don't know where they got the permit. So we kind of need to abolish those houses. And it was a long process because you don't know what to do with the people and you don't know where to resettle them. Oh, and here, trashes everywhere. So just another inspection, another cleanup, and a series of meetings with the stakeholders to solve this problem. And then just recently, I spent a lot of years actually in the office of the regional executive director, but there was a time that I wanted to do more forester stuff. So I was transferred just this year. Oh, just last year, I was transferred to the forest utilization section. So I have two major functions here, which is so as I told earlier, I am assigned in the licenses, patents, and deeds division, and under that is the forest utilization section. I am actually in two sections, so I'm gonna first elaborate forest utilization section. So here I have two major functions, issuance and endorsement of tree cutting permits and the processing of tenurial instruments. So in tree cuttings permit, I have here uh, the major law stated in EO 23. It is the obligation of the state to protect the remaining forest covers of the country. So that's why we have tree cutting permits, because you are not allowed to cut anywhere, especially in natural and residual forest. So here is oh, I did an inspection. So if the trees are already causing danger to lives and properties, as you can see, this is in the highway, we are allowed to cut them, even if they are in a private property, and they have to replace the trees that they cut. So here, we did an inventory of trees. So uh, this is a private company, and we search for the infested trees, and then you cut them. All trees are should be replaced by seedlings, preferably indigenous. And here I have, as I've said earlier, I we issue tenurial instruments. So I have here different agreements. These are all agreements between an organization, a Filipino citizen, an individual, and the DENR. These are all to this will allow the applicant to develop, manage, protect, and utilize a specified area of forest land or forest resource. So they have just some difference, like SIFMA is a small tract of land, forest land use agreement for um legal uses of forest lands other than production of timber and non-timber. IFMA is for production sharing. And then I have here Flag T, Forest Land Use Agreement for tourism, like for bathing establishment, campsite, ecotourism destination, hotel site, and other tourism purposes. Community-based forest management, I think you are aware of that, where in the local community, in a locality, represented by people's organizations, are forest managers. And then we have the last one, FLGMA and FLGLA. This is for grazing lands. So these are different contracts and agreements with DNR in order to, again, utilize, develop, protect, and manage a forest land. So these are some pictures of, again, site inspection on the way to those areas that are applied for a tenurial instrument. So on the way to So what I do here is I check if all requirements are already complete. And then sometimes, yes, like this, we do site inspection. And we also check if the applicant's plan is based on sustainable development. So I mostly check on the papers because the inspection is done by assigned forest rangers and foresters on field. Our division also does the deliberation. So there is a deliberation for all stakeholders involved to clarify the lapses in the application. Oh, this one is on the way to the area where this is on the way to the area where a tenurial instrument is applied. So, and then on there is a nearby indigenous people. So these are the Aita communities in that area. And then they said that granting the tenurial instrument, because I think they will plant bamboos, will benefit this IP community because it will offer job to them, but at the same time will preserve their culture and tradition. And this is the signing. So there I am. And then this is the signing of the memorandum of agreement. And my second section is the water utilization section. You are not usually assigned to two sections actually in a government, but I don't know. I'm assigned in two sections. So another one is water utilization section, and we follow the water code of the Philippines. So all the water resources should be controlled and regulated by the government. So we have three major functions: policy formulation, of course, the policies and formulation and coordination. And then we have just a finite source of water. It's just limited. So we have to regulate the water, and of course, economic regulation. So everything is kind of constant here in this section. Some personal inspect, their water permit applications, I check and endorse permits, all based on laws, and then attend all meetings related to water resources. These are never ending. So this one in the picture was recently held, I think just last Thursday, wherein all the water utilities were asked to have septage tanks, and we were asked to go and have a meeting with the city councilors where and all water utility operators and providers were present. So as you can see, it's kind of the same to all divisions I was assigned to. There are constant jobs, a pile of papers, but at the same time, you have to attend meetings as well as the required trainings and workshops and accomplish surprise tasks right away. Because I think working for the government, for the country, requires you to answer all concerns of the citizens and all problems that pop up in the country related to environment and natural resources. It doesn't matter what time or where you are. The important thing is no citizen is harmed and his or her concern is um, was addressed and the environment is maintained or protected or conserved. Okay, let's go to the part why I chose this job. So I got the job after I passed the board exam. I remember I was still thinking on what I am supposed to do next since I just passed the licensure examination for foresters. And then suddenly, a friend of mine referred me to DNR regional office, which is 15 to 20 minutes away from from my house in my hometown. So it was a good catch. Opportunity knocked, so I grabbed it. I mean, why not? It's an agency with a mission to have a nation enjoying and sustaining its natural resources and having a clean and healthy environment. It's a forestry student's goal to be able to provide that. But I remember, as I mentioned a while ago, when I was in the office of the director, I asked to be transferred to where I am currently now in order to make use of my skill and knowledge more as a forester. I feel like I will grow more if I'd start at the bottom and here at my office, because I see the job as suited to a forester. Like, when there's a tree cutting, you have to identify the tree species, or if it's merchantable, you have to make a stand and stock table, a tally sheet, or for a tenurial instrument, you have to identify the land use, and as well as, and the forest management. I learned so much about forest management based from inspection and deliberations with various sector. And I chose this job because I really did not stop learning. So, on opportunities and challenges, well, working for the government is both an opportunity and a challenge. Opportunity because not everyone gets a chance to enter the government, especially right away. And we know that when you're working for the government, they are the first people usually contacted for trainings, seminars, scholarships, and etc. It's also an opportunity for improvement because problems are always existing, which makes it a challenge because everything you do, every decision you make, there are always so many eyes looking at you. Why? Because their taxes, the taxes of the citizens, is your salary. So they have, every Filipino citizen has a say to what you're doing because they are the boss. And I think I have 104 million Filipinos to listen to. But then, uh, it's a challenge because sometimes, citizens lack awareness, and they have the right to complain, and when they lack awareness, it's just hard to agree on terms, and sometimes you just don't get the law, and it's just complicated. And again, there are times that you don't have a choice. Like if there's a typhoon or an earthquake, most government, it's risky to enter job, but because you're involved in such natural phenomena and the environment, you have to go to work. And also the surprise field works, you just have to do it. You have to go there right away. But what I like most is I feel productive because there are a lot to accomplish. You don't get bored. Well, when we're talking about environment and natural resources, it's a lot and unlimited. So there will always be a job and there will always be something new. So previously, I handled mining concerns, typhoons, settlement issues, and then I was transferred to another division where I need to know more about lands and study surveys and mapping. And now I am more on water and forest products. So it's always a new thing, new laws to study, new policies, and what's fulfilling is that what you do will benefit a citizen and a certain environment. I also like that I get to see such pleasant views and forest. I I know that the forest cover is already degrading, so I'm already thankful to be able to see such beautiful environment sceneries in different locations. And of course, you get to help a lot of people too, like for example, the IP tribes that I have mentioned a while ago. So I'm already on the advice part. On CV preparation, I advise you to keep it simple, make it real. You don't need to include all your achievements from when you were born. You don't want to give them a long list that they'll get tired of. Most of the time, you include those starting from college. And remember to emphasize your skills. You are all talented foresters here, so make them see it. On exams and interviews, always be prepared. Expect all questions from 1 plus 1 to, to synonyms, antonyms, as simple as that, and then to species scientific names, to forest management, to personal topics like what is your favorite color? Why is that your favorite color? You have to know what you're applying for. It's if it's a forester to where, forester to what, they're all different. And be familiar with the area where you want to apply. Different environment, different problems, so you have to be familiar with the area. And don't lose hope. You are all young, and don't lose hope, and keep that hope with and within you. You know, after graduation, you'll be faced with reality that life and work is not as exciting and as colorful as you expect it to be. There are a lot of moments that will make you unmotivated. Like, why does climate change keep on occurring when you are already doing your best? Or why aren't people doing their part while you work hard doing your job? How can we save the environment if people keep being ignorant or careless? Moreover, there are corrupt people with different agendas. It's a harsh world out there. But as I've told you earlier, while you are young, keep that hope. Keep that hope, and when things get unmotivational, remember that you got to stay hopeful, because that is the beauty of being young. You are eager for change, you're eager to help. So when things get unmotivational, you're still hopeful. Stay hopeful, stay disciplined. And lastly, I'm also advising you to keep learning. That's very important. Every opportunity that offers learning is an opportunity to grab. The world changes, society changes, the environment changes, climate changes. So it is important that we keep up and cope up. That's it. Thank you very much, everyone, and keep safe.
Thank you, Jillian. I really enjoyed your presentation. I can see some of my experience also in what you said. So now we would like to move on to Mahtuf's presentation. We remind you that there will be question. You will be able to ask questions to both the speakers after this presentation. So when the time comes, you can just either lift your hand to ask a question, or you can leave them in the chat if you want us to read them to you. So Mahtuf, whenever you are ready, you can start sharing. Mahtuf, we cannot hear you. You are muted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining the career webinar today. So good afternoon from here in Finland. Unfortunately, we don't have many participants today, as I've seen in the list, because maybe they are still in weekend. Or is there any participants maybe waiting in the waiting room? David or Elaine?
No, we have accepted everyone that was in the waiting room. We have no one in the waiting room right now.
Okay, yeah. I just assume they are in the weekend maybe, because it's Saturday. So in this occasion, I would like to talk about career in biodiversity and sustainable forestry from my perspective. And thank you, Jilian, before for presenting about her work in DENR Philippines, which shows there are many fieldworks there. But from my side, unfortunately, since I joined these organizations, I don't have any fieldwork. So you expect later I don't have many pictures that describe about my fieldwork due to COVID-19 pandemic also. So I'm Mahtuf Ikhsan. I'm currently working as a junior consultant at the International Tropical Timber Organization, ITTO in Yokohama, Japan. And then I'm also currently pursuing master program in European forestry at the University of Freiburg, Germany, and the University of Eastern Finland. Okay. Okay, quick introduction. So this is my work experience. I'm originally from Indonesia. I moved to Japan right after my graduation, my bachelor degree. So it was during the pandemic. So it was around February 2020. And I work as a junior consultant at ITTO. And also previously, I worked as a governance and trade analyst or trainee at the European Forest Institute, EFI, headquarters in Joensuu, Finland. Regarding my IFSA experience, I started as a member in my LCIPB as head of public relations divisions. And then I became head of publication subcommission at IFSA War. At that time, I was the editor-in-chief of IFSA War 3 News. And then I moved as the liaison officer for CIFOR, Center for International Forestry Research. And then the last period in IFSA was becoming the liaison officer for ITTO, International Tropical Timber Organizations. So to say, the last position in my IFSA helped me to get a job in what I'm currently doing now. And then what is ITTO? So ITTO is an action and field-oriented organization with more than 30 years of experience, established in 1986 with headquarters in Yokohama, Japan. So we have memberships include 73 countries, plus the EU comprising 38 consumers, mostly non-tropical, and 36 producers, mostly tropical. So we have 38 consumers countries, and we have 36 producer countries. So this organization mainly focusing on the international timber trade regulation. And ITTO's membership represents about 90% of the global tropical timber trade and more than 80% of the world's tropical forests. And ITTO has funded over 1,000 projects across the value of 400 million US dollar. And ITTO itself promotes the sustainable management and conservation of tropical forests and the expansions and diversification of trade in tropical timber from sustainably managed and legally harvested forests. So this is the focus of ITTO's work, mainly for managing tropical timber trade regulation. And this is our international cooperations. From policies, we develop criteria and indicators for sustainable forest management. Maybe you're familiar with SFM, and then you know about CNI about SFM. That's basically ITTO developed the CNI and for SFM. And we have program on biodiversity conservation, forest landscape restorations. We have some sort of incentives program also, such as taxation, fiscal, others, and promote investment in sustainable forest management, landscape restoration, supply chains. We have platforms. We recently launched initiative on green supply chains, which is the collections of entrepreneurs focusing on timber trade and sustainable business, mainly from Congo, Latin America, and Asia. So we also facilitate business exchange between those timber entrepreneurs. We have capacity building and education. We have annual fellowships, so we give scholarships for students, for young professionals to do field work, to advance their course also, and to continue for postgraduate studies. We have also innovations and latest technological developments, such as the development of mobile apps for monitoring timber trade. And we offer also assistance for ITTO project portfolio and business lines, biennial work program, and other field initiatives. So what I'm doing now for my task, so as I said previously, I don't have many field work done within my current work period because also due to pandemic, and mostly my work is on the office side. So the first one is I'm working as a member of steering committee for FAO ITTO UFRO Global Forest Education Project with special talks on building an online course for legal and sustainable supply chains or LSCC initiative. Maybe you heard about Global Forest Education Project before, or you fill our survey. That's part of the Global Forest Education Project that funded by the German Federal Ministry for Food and Agriculture. And this is the link for lssccourse.com. So if you are interested about legal and sustainable supply chains, about how the forestry system complies with international standards and how we trace timber, you are welcome to visit this course. By joining this course, it is easy to pass this course. You just need to pass 70% of correct in each section of the quizzes, and after that you will obtain certificate, which is signed by the senior forestry officer from FAO, executive director of the IUFRO, and the director of operations of ITTO. So it's worth to have a certificate from this course, and you are welcome to visit this course. So just type in the Google lssccourse.com and you will see the course later. And the second one, I'm working also for the creation of global forest education study for Asia Pacific region, mainly for China and Japan. So I collected respondents and also the translators for the survey. And this is the global forest education survey in Japanese language. Moreover, I work also for newsletter productions for EU FLECTI Independent Market Monitor mission, so producing this news mainly about the impact of COVID-19 for timber trade. So I work for two languages, for English and Bahasa Indonesia. I work also for funding proposal for IKI Germany on land and seascapes restorations. So I develop a funding proposal on the development of land and seascape restoration approach for upscaling the restoration effort in Indonesia. And I also participate as in many webinar or events, such as being the speaker and event organizer at the Forest Education Session at World Forest Week 2020, at the IGES Webinar 2020, and later we will have International Conference on Forest Educations 2024 June 2021. So that's all my main tasks while I'm currently doing work for now with ITTO. And then we move to the opportunities, motivation, and challenges. So working in international organization itself can be a really good dream for everyone, but it also have many pros and cons regarding working for international organizations. Of course, working for international organizations such as ITTO or other UN organizations, you have a big opportunity for international networking, and you have new environment, and you have a chance to contribute for addressing the real problems in the international setting, such as you need to face with deforestation problems, forest fires, and also the rural inequality, for example. And I would like to say also work-life balance is a good in international organization. If you compare with working for private sector, let's say, and you have positive credibility on CV. So when someone looks at your CV, like you work for UN or international organizations, that will be a good stuff to put on your CV. And opportunities to use the projects as the support tool for academic or relevant activities. I use my project also as a supporting materials when I have relevant academic projects or academic tasks. And when I refer to this project, it seems like really professionals because I have experience in doing that before. And then when I came to the academic tasks and then I refer to this project, then it seems real. And then we have also challenges. So UN or international organizations is a bureaucratic organizations. They have a lot of hierarchy and then a lot of administrative tasks that need to do, and sometimes language barrier because I don't have any proficiency in Spanish, French, and sometimes the work depends on funding, especially during the COVID-19, and this affects the period of work contract, and the exit opportunities are not really good if you're considering to move to the business setting environment afterwards. Yes, this is because sometimes when you want to move to a private sector or a business profitable company, and then when you have work experience within UN, then they say this is, then they will think that this is NPO, non-profit organization. So you don't have really relevant experience if you want to move to the business world. So from the opportunities and challenges, I try also as much as possible to maximize the potentials while embracing the challenges at the same time. And then we move to the job hunting. So in this session, I will talk about how you can be a good candidate to get a job as fresh graduates and how you can nail a job offer. So in general, humble expectations from fresh graduates, like you have a relevant work experience while you are studying, either through internship or part-time job. Voluntary activities can be considered as an asset. So back in my study, when I was in bachelor degree, I don't have a real work experience through internship or part-time job, because most of the time, as you know, also forestry students in summer, they do field course, so they don't have any chance for internship through a business company. And also when I was in bachelor degree, we have student service activity that we need to go to village and help the local communities. So unfortunately, in the summer year, we don't have any time for internship in the real company. But I did volunteering with IFSA. That's the big plus for me because I contributed much of my time for IFSA, do networking with many people, and etc. And you have a good communication skill. Yes, this is a perfect example of a good candidate, because if you are, for example, software engineer, but if you don't have good communication skill, then it will not be matched by the company itself. So for example, you have good communication skill demonstrated by your extracurricular activities during college. You have can-do attitude, a team player, a problem solver, while a self-motivated person when working independently. So you have a strong initiative in getting things done. You have relevant hard skills, for example, programming or business development, and good record of academic and or non-academic achievements, because the company or institution itself want to know if you are really good candidate and you are done with your academic, basically, if you have a good GPA or non-academic records. Several ways to get job for fresh graduate. First one is normal recruitment process. I truly recommend you should start 1 year before graduations because it's a long process. And usually normal recruitment process itself is a bit suck because it's really the normal recruitment, and many HR or recruitment consultant just use machine to screen your CV, so it's not really good. But if you do find some kind of starting point to get a job, and then it's really recommended you should start your job application as soon as possible. So you can do first self-analysis, and then you examine which industry I will go and then which company I will go. So later you have a clear idea or what you want to do after graduations. The second, referral is very important. Yes, I saw from a survey that I think most of the 50 persons in the US get a job in referral, and referral also very good. And Jilian also said before that her friend refer her to get a job in DNR. And then in my case also, because I was license officer for ITTO, and I have someone that will fight me in the recruitment process. So it is very important for you not only going to the normal recruitment process, but go to the off-cycle process. For example, you have your professor, and your professor know about the people working in companies. So at least you can ask for referral to the professor, or you have someone that you know working in the company. Because if you do normal recruitment process, let's be fair, it's not going to be a short one or a good one to get a job. So referral is very important. At least you should have one before you graduate. And also referral can be from alumni. So you reach out to your alumni who work there, you talk to them, and you talk to him or her, and then ask if they can refer you to get a job in the company. And usually if someone refer you as a person, and then you get a job offer, then the persons that give the referral to you will get a credit also, will get a such as bonus salary from their company. So it's a win-win solutions if you get referral. And when I arrived here in Finland, also in the IFSA, so I just sent my CV, and then directly, I don't have any interview. I didn't have any interview. I got accepted afterwards because the supervisor at IFSA worked with the supervisor in ITTO Japan when I was working in Japan. So the cycle is like these people knows these people, and these people knows the others, and then the others know the others. So that's very important of referral. And then internships that leads to the full-time job. Possible tracks for forestry graduates. So if you don't want to focus also on forestry, such as forestry technician, pulp and paper company, forest owner, researcher, government, NPO, and education. And you also can consider for environmental career, such as environmental sustainability expert, working for NPO, researcher, government, education, and private sector. And you also consider, why don't consider for business and IT, because there is a growing number of jobs for business and IT, such as sustainable business, sales, marketing, finance, HR, software engineer, and GIS analyst. But these positions usually require additional qualifications, such as MBA, certified GIS analyst, and also like software such as R, C++, and others. And then here we go with job hunting tips. So the first thing that you need to pay attention is the timeline, depending on the company or institutions. As I stated before, the sooner the better if you are in the penultimate year of your study. So in my case, I graduated from bachelor degree in January 2020. I already start my job applications from August 2019. So it was 6 months before graduations, but I did find a job through my connections within the IFSA world. And then application process, it varies depending on the company. Like it is recommended also you attend the company seminar. There are many seminars within the campus, for example, and you have to attend the company seminar because you can get more informations. And then after the process, we go with document selections, entry sheet, resume. You prepare also for online test or SPI. So it's psychological test, numerical, verbal reasoning, multiple interviews. And after that, you got a job offer. Resume or CV, you write on the experiences, personal character, stories that are relevant to the company or job you're applying. And then your resume should relate to how you're going to fit with the company's industry, culture, mission, values, rather than how you're going to excel in one specific field. So the fitness of your applications to the company, don't send 100 applications with the same content, for example, because it's just a messy for the company seeing not many seeing CV that doesn't relate with their business or the positions that you are referring to. So make sure you get a customized content for each application. And interview, so interview generally about company appreciates the process of doing something and why you are doing that. So you can use STAR technique. So I highly recommend you to browse for STAR technique. So the STAR technique is how you can structure your answers during the interview. It's an acronym of situation, task, action, and result. So that's kind of answers that really provide a strong argument when you are in the interview process. And please prepare also one good story for one thing that you did and you are most proud of while studying at your university, how you are going to fit with the company, the reasons, as well as your long-term career path. And the last one, of course, mentality. The process is long, and in the real life will be even more rigorous and strenuous. As Jilian also said before, the real life will be even more difficult and then unpredictable. So just suit up and enjoy the ride. Okay, thank you. That's all. If you want to contact me, then you can contact me through my ITTO email here at consultant@itto.int. Okay, back to the moderator.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. And now we would like to start with the question and answer section. So if you have any questions, you can just lift your hand and then ask it yourself, or you can also ask in the chat. Then we can ask it like for you. And if you guys need some more time, then I would like to start with my question. I have a question for Jilian. So I'm quite curious about how you deal with the complaint from the residents. I don't know if you can share like some stories or experience when you um, interact with the residents and how you deal with it.
Hello. So I think the most memorable one was, of course, my first experience was a complaint in mining, and it reached the news articles. So when it reaches the news articles, the first thing you do is talk to the writer of the news article. You settle why it happened, where did the complaint come from, and then you go talk to the community who complained, and then you settle everything. You go with terms and agreements. This is a long process. It can take years until the agreements are all complied. So that's how you communication is very important. That's it.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. I don't know if any of you have more questions.
I do have one question to Mahtuf. Um, Mahtuf said that one of the cons of his job and jobs like his was that his contract was depending on funding. So and also on research, first research, we also have the big problem of the contracts depending on the research grant. So I would like to ask him if he thinks that that is one thing that is stopping jobs on biodiversity and sustainability to have more relevance and have more people working on that. And also if he has like any idea in mind of how could we solve this problem of the contracts being short term, depending on funding or depending on research grants. So that will be my question.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, David, for your questions. So yes, budget cut is a big problem because, as you know, also not only in international organizations for NGOs, but also in academia. So what I would say, in Finland also, there is recently a plan for budget cut for research grant. And then what I would say to address this issue is more cooperation with private sector. Like I see in many universities, they don't really depend on the government. They do cooperate with private sector as long as the research is self-relevant on how to improve the profit of the products from private sector, and then how they can manage to find a suitability from one project to one project, and then how it's benefit the private sector itself. I think now it's private sector and research academia collaboration is now increasing because the academia itself cannot depend solely on the government, which is the one that produce research grant, but they can now collaborate with private sector. But unfortunately now during the COVID-19 pandemic, economic impact also, and private sector also have the same problem with us. But yes, in the future, I think more innovation fund, and then more sustainability fund can go to directly specifically for biodiversity and sustainable forestry. So we have innovation fund now, like from Green Climate Fund, for example, and then, the Generation Restoration 2030. So it's collection of fund from the World Bank, from the UN Environment, and also in the EU, we have EU Horizon Fund. So hopefully more collaboration with private sector will address this problem.
Thank you.
So we have one question from Yukta. So Yukta want to ask Jilian, how do you maintain the balance when there are some clash of opinions between indigenous people and forest officials?
Okay, thank you, Yukta, for that question. So there is a separate agency for the indigenous peoples, and there is also a law protecting and recognizing the rights of the indigenous people. So if there is a clash, we base everything on laws. And then again, we try to have a meeting with them. We again communicate with them. Uh, Again, it's a long process because it's sometimes hard to get their approval with just one meeting. So, but luckily, you already have this agency in charge with the we coordinate with this agency a lot, the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. So they make sure that all the rights and the needs of the IPs are being addressed.
So thank you for your answer. And then now I have a question for Mahtuf, because I just finished my job searching, and I was also thinking a lot with like these job searching things. I would like to ask you, like, if you want to transfer into a private sector in the future, like what kind of um, action or what kind of things that you would do to make you transfer to a private sector like successfully?
Yes, thank you, Elaine, for your questions. So good questions. So for example, if we have Master of Science, let's say that's our background, so we don't really do any business. So what I want to do, if I want to transfer into private sector, the first one, I need to have some sort of experience with business setting environment, like doing traineeship with startup, for example, and then also as a way to get business acumen, because the business acumen skill is really important. Like private sector or business company also hire science STEM students, let's say, because they think that STEM students are really good at numbers, but they lack of business acumen. So that's why I think I need to get to a traineeship first as the business setting environment to get a business acumen, and then later on I will apply for the entry level or mid positions. And then also from our perspective, there are also many positions within sustainability, such as sustainable business expert, sustainability specialist, and also more jobs in the future, because many environmental awareness are also getting flagged within the company.
No, di ba recently meron kang
Yeah, so thank you very much for your answer.
So if no one else has questions, I think we can conclude our event today. Um, so thank you once again to Jillian and Mahtuf for their contributions. Um, and we also like to thank those of you who were interested in participating. We will also leave this webinar available on YouTube, so it can help future IFSA members or other forestry students who might be interested in this topic to rewatch the webinar. And I hope that it helped you plan a path for your future. and thank you for being here.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Elaine and David.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jilian, Mahtuf.